Hi, it's Glenn McQueenie, and welcome to my 25-minute success series podcast. Today we have Didi Roberts on the line from beautiful London, Ontario. So, how you doing, Didi?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So,
Thanks for
can
having
you?
me on.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm looking forward to this because this is going to be just interesting as we kind of try to explore where you are right now and
Okay.
also just where you want to go. And then we'll try to figure out a really cool approach and niche market for you to get into so you can just, build a really big business and have a lot of fun. So, can you just give us a little bit of your background right now? How long have you been in the business? Or what did you do before that? And where would you like to take your business?
Okay. Well, I'm currently in school right now. So I'm at the last leg of it. So I'm hoping to be done by the end of May.
Okay.
But previously, I have been involved heavily in sort of the direct sales
Okay.
aspect of things. I do have a degree from the University of Windsor, but I started very young in the direct sales business and sort of have a lot of experience in sales and things like
Okay.
that. I just recently moved to London, Ontario from Windsor about a year and a half ago. So it's been good. It's been nice building relationships with people and doing my schooling and prepping for my business. So I'm excited.
Great. So, do you have a big sphere in London right now, or are you just kind of getting to know people right now? Just trying to see.
Well, I don't have a big sphere, but I do have a circle of people that I do sort of um, deal with and hang around with.
Okay. And you were saying that you were doing a lot of direct marketing or direct sales before. So, what were you doing
hmm
before specifically? What was your job?
So basically, we were doing a water filtration company. So my husband and I, we owned a water purification system. So my job basically was to be the person on the phone doing the phone closes. I ran the sales, the booking room department.
Okay.
So I would train the girls on the phone to do the cold calling. So that was basically my role. I was like the manager.
Okay. And if you think about as you come into London, how you want to build your business, do you want to do it on phone, by person, like open houses? Like, where do you feel most comfortable lead generating?
Well, see, I was actually like I would like to think that I'm multifaceted, but maybe that's just my ego talking. But I I enjoyed working on the phone and training the girls, and I enjoyed doing the phone closes on the phone. I would like to think I was pretty good at it, but I also loved being, the face as well, like dealing with customers face to face. So, in starting my business right now, I'm just, I'm not sure how to sort of narrow it down. And so
Okay.
I don't know. I just don't know where to really narrow it down, I guess.
Okay. So if you had a magic wand right now,
hmm
what's like the perfect customer avatar? Like, who would be your dream come true client that you would just feel comfortable working with and serving? Like, how old are they? What kind of home would they be looking for? What's their biggest challenge right now?
I would definitely love to work with someone who's just starting out, wanting to buy a house. Just making them feel empowered and helping them and getting them going. I'm really big on helping people, so that's something that I feel like I would love to do. Is just being that person to help them find their first dream home. Because it's a big change, and I want to be a
Mm,
part of that big change in their lives.
right. Okay. And where are those people now, like before they buy their first home? Where do you think they're living right now?
And an apartment, possibly
Okay.
in their parents' basement. I don't know.
I think you probably covered most of the
Well,
bases.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm thinking in my mind, I guess.
Okay. So, so they're renters right now. So we have to kind of
Basically.
find out a way to kind of target renters, or if they're staying at their parents' place thinking about buying, what do you think is keeping them up at night? Like, what do you think their biggest fears are right now?
Like you mean with somebody who wants to buy a house?
Yeah, they're buying their first home. What do you think the
Whether
conversation is?
I think the biggest thing is whether they can actually attain a mortgage. You know,
Right.
are they qualified? Like, are they making enough money? I think that would be the first thing that they would think of, right? Where do they
Okay.
start?
Okay, so let's assume, because there's a lot of like online mortgage calculators now where people could
Okay.
go on and put in their income and it'll tell them in a roundabout way like how much money, how much of a home they can afford. So a
Mhm.
lot of that stuff that we used to kind of do as agents before, like qualify them or send them to our mortgage broker, which is still important. It's still a great value add. A lot of people can kind of find those, like, if you were to Google how much can I afford to buy a home for in London, the first thing that will probably come up would be like mortgage calculators, and it's like put in your income, list your debts, and then they'll say, based on this, you're approved for 275 to 300,000. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think it would be great, and these are widgets, right? Like if you ever wanted to create like a website or something like that, it's a widget you could just add on where how much I could afford. But I think there's a bigger picture going on. The bigger fear is, okay, now I'm pre-qualified for this. Okay, now if someone knows, okay, I'm qualified for $350,000, what do you think their next fear is? What's the next conversation they're having with themselves or with their partner?
Um, what what kind of house can we get for that
Right,
price?
right. So what kind of house?
Mhm.
And then they'll probably also want to know like what's the best area to be in,
Mhm.
right? And they'll also be probably talking about, okay, where do we work and how far is it to work? I mean, the beautiful thing about London, Ontario is you're like the max, you're 20 minutes away from everything, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
it's the perfect 20-minute city. Um,
Oh,
so
seriously.
so uh, so then it's like, so then what do you think their next conversation is? Okay, so now we're going to look into this area. What do you think they're going to do next?
I would think that, it could become very overwhelming. So, where do we start to look? How do we even start looking? Like, where do we get the resources to figure out, yeah, we want this area, but how do we start looking?
Right. Well, what we found with a lot of the research is that about 97% of buyers, uh, first-time buyers, begin their home search online. So they actually will go
Mhm.
to like Realtor.ca because it usually has all the properties instead of going to individual brokerage websites because it's just too much work, you know. So they'll kind of go to Realtor.ca and then they'll start seeing just what kind of like homes are available, right? And then what we found is that people will start jumping into their cars and they'll start driving by some of those
Driving
homes.
by. Yeah.
Kind of like, as a detective almost, I'm a CIA special agent. Nobody can know, but I'm driving around the neighborhoods checking out these homes. And then they'll usually start going into like open houses, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so if we kind of can understand that that's kind of like the buying process, and so people are like, how much can I afford? Okay, now what's the best area? Now I'm going to just go and start looking at product, and then they'll start coming up with other things like when's the best time to buy, right?
Mhm.
Is it now? Is spring the best time to buy? Or they'll start going, they'll talk to their friends. The friends are like, oh, we were in multiple offers the other day. And they'll be like, ooh, I don't want to get into multiple offers, right? So these are kind of like the conversations that you'll start to hear. So once we kind of figure out the persona, almost like the avatar of what the buyer is, then we can start designing the marketing platform in order to kind of get in their way during the transaction, right?
Mhm.
So I would probably. So how much is a typical first-time buyer home in London right
Um, I would. I'm not sure, but I don't know. 100 and 100, under 100. I don't know.
Yeah,
to
I
be
think it's
honest.
way more than that. So I would probably say the first step for you is you
I'm
should get
from
on Realtor.
Windsor, so I
I
have to
know.
Windsor. I'm
Well,
thinking Windsor.
I know. Windsor, you're doing well.
I
No, so I would think the first step for you is to answer that question, and that
know.
will
Okay.
involve you getting on Realtor.ca, and
Mhm.
finding out, I would go, what are all the homes between, two. I would say, I would argue it's probably going to be between 200,000 and 300,000 in London.
Okay.
Um, so specifically now teaching you, because I think you've got to kind of get up to speed on your knowledge there before you finish your license, at the end of May and start meeting clients. I'd probably tell you to kind of get in your car now and start driving around the different neighborhoods of London, or start for wherever you live in London. If it's like the intersection, start going to like the northwest quadrant, then the southwest, then the southeast, and then the northeast quadrant, and just get a kind of quadrant view of what house prices are in the immediate four quadrants to your home.
Okay, that's great. I've actually been sort of doing that, but this is wonderful to start doing that
Yeah.
more. And yeah, great.
Yeah, and then number two is I would start going to all the weekend open houses, to go and start seeing all these products, because now you can actually get out and see them, and now you can track them because you'll be able to watch them once they get sold, and you'll be like, oh, they were asking 265 and they got
Oh,
255.
that's a great idea.
Yeah, these people were 265 but they got 295. Well, why did they get 295? So now you actually can physically be in the houses and start
Yeah.
tracking all of the recent sales, right?
Yeah.
And then, if you can get access to the MLS, or another agent, um, the best thing that you can do is ask them to print off all the recent solds in the last 3 months, and then jump
Okay.
back in your car and drive by and look at what everything is selling for over the last 3 or 4 months. Because you're going to gain a whole lot of confidence right now by just understanding what the product is first.
Yes, that's
And
true.
most people getting their license try to skip this because they just want to get to clients and start making money. But they misunderstand that, what's the value you're going to be adding to somebody if you don't know what the recent solds were, and you don't know what the average prices are, and you don't know why prices are this price in this area compared to that area. This is where you start adding value, because people can't really Google that stuff. They can Google everything else in real
No.
estate, but they can't Google the inner wisdom of a marketplace. And that's where you come in,
Yeah.
and that's where you start adding value. So I want you to be so confident that, in the next 90 days, that you've looked at so many properties that when you're doing, say, an open house in June, once you get your license, and someone walks in and says, oh, I don't really like this house, and you say, oh, well, where are you looking? And they're like, oh, we're first-time buyers, we're thinking about here. You're like, well, would you like a free list of the top 10 best homes for sale in this neighborhood? Because you know the neighborhood. How much money do you want to spend? Oh, you know what? This neighborhood's going to be better because of the schools and because of this, and better resale value. Oh, you want to spend that much? You probably won't get into that neighborhood, but we'll get you into this neighborhood. Once you can kind of figure that stuff, and you can do all of this before you get licensed, this is where your confidence and value add will start to show up when you meet your first
Wow.
client that you're working with.
Yeah, I totally see what you're saying, right? Because that's why I've just been so lucky to be able to do some training, some courses and stuff, and because look at all this stuff that you actually get to learn even before you start, right?
Absolutely.
So this is so amazing to have that little info there.
Yeah. And it's like, I want you to think about it as if you were hiring me right now to come and
Mhm.
join you in the water filtration business.
Mhm.
And I'm joining you, and I'm like, and you say to me, like, sorry, let me the first thing you would probably want to train me is on the product.
100%.
Right. And you would focus all my time there. I'm like, no, 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 no. I just want to go and sell it. And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You don't even know what you're selling yet.
No, absolutely. That's the first thing we do.
Right. So think about it, the same business you're in, you're just moving these skills into real estate. And if you would teach someone coming into your business the first thing is product knowledge, then the first thing you have to learn in real estate is the product knowledge. See, the gift that you have right now is you already have the sales experience and the emotional intelligence of dealing with lots of people, and you can change
Yes.
personality. You can, like, that is really what lead conversion is all about. Like, there'll be lots of people who know everything about the product, but they couldn't close a book. You know what I mean? Like they couldn't, like they couldn't,
Yeah, right, eh?
right? Because they don't know how to deal with people and don't understand how people actually function, right?
Yeah,
And
no,
it's
you're
kind of
you're
like
right.
our industry, you can buy leads generated because that's the easy part of our industry. The hard thing is converting a lead. It's the same thing in the water filtration business, you know?
Yeah, it's sort of like the psychology of it, right? Like
Exactly.
understanding the customers and, what they need. But the product knowledge is like the base
It's
first.
the base and the
Yeah.
confidence. And if you're teaching me the product knowledge of the water filtration systems, once I got it, do you think I'm going to be more confident talking about those systems?
Oh, for sure.
That's right. And you know in sales that when it's a lot of it is about confidence and trust. And you can
Mhm.
tell when someone knows what they're talking about, and you can tell when someone's absolutely bluffing you with BS.
Yes. 100%.
And that's really what we're talking about over the next 90 days is get your product knowledge so nailed that by the time you actually get licensed, you're ready to go.
Yeah, wow, that's like really great advice.
Right. And then let's go back to you training me in the water filtration. And I said, okay, I want to sell in Thunder Bay, Montreal, Nova Scotia, and Rochester, New York. What would you say to me?
Well, what do you know about those areas?
Right. So that's right. So you'd probably
I
tell me,
mean,
why don't you pick one
not
area
rocket
first?
science here.
I know. Exactly what I'm telling you. You already know these answers. I would tell you to pick one area that you want to focus on first
Mhm.
and know that area. And once you've conquered one area, move on to the next.
Yes.
And the big thing area that you have to conquer is where are all the first time buyer homes? Where are all the first time buyers right now? And then how can we create a marketing campaign that would get the renters to call me before they buy that first time home?
Wow.
Right. So I
Yeah.
would, I don't want to sound like a broken record for some of our listeners here right now because lately I've been spending a lot of time on either Instagram or Facebook targeted ads.
Okay.
Because if you create a Facebook business page called First Time London Home Buyers,
Okay.
who's going to go to that page?
Well, the first time London home buyers.
Yeah, like what are the odds, right?
It's oh my God. Again.
That's how it works. Right.
It's
So
like ABC.
there you go. And then what are those people going to want on that? They're going to want to come there and they want to find out about how to maybe get qualified where you can post.
Mhm.
So start like Google content marketing and you'll
Okay.
realize that it's such a huge market right now where it's like by providing free content to people, you position yourself as an expert and then you start building a tribe around what people are interested in, right? So it's
Mhm.
no different than like the X Games, for example, where they just built a product and they gave it away for free on TV, and it built a massive industry. Because the only people who are going to watch the X Games are people who are interested in the X Games.
Exports, yeah.
So Facebook is your television channel where people can come and watch the content that they really want. So you could start doing stories about how to get qualified. Here's the 20 mistakes that most home buyers make and how to avoid them. Here's the 10 best areas to buy a home in London. Here's the 10 best school districts in London. Oh, by the way, on June 15th, I'll be doing London's first-time buyer tour of homes. And, I invite everyone to come. We're going to go and see these 6 homes We're going to start at 12 o'clock. We'll be done at 2:30, and we're all going to go for beer afterwards. That's how you start building up your niche tribe.
Wow. Yeah, like it makes total sense
Yeah, because that's what
when
they
you put
want.
it that way.
Yeah, because that's what they
Yeah,
want. So as long as you just give your customer what they want, then they'll come and get it. We don't have to
exactly.
go out of our way. It's because you're providing the most relevant content. And then what you can do with Facebook, you can do targeted ads where you're like, okay, I want to go only after here's where all the renters are. They're in those 5 apartment buildings. I want to hit that postal code, and I want to do a targeted ad campaign of my first London first time buyer home tour.
Yeah.
Or you target free lists of the top 10 best homes for first time buyers in London, and you just tell people to private message you for the list. And then when they actually call or message you for the list, you go right into a buyer consultation. Oh, well, I want to make sure I'm going to send you the right list. So what's the perfect home? What is the perfect location? What's the perfect price range? And what's the perfect time frame? And based on their answers, you could easily pick the 10 best homes that meet. So you don't even have to have the list yet. The list is only the reason for them to call you.
Exactly.
Hmm. Yeah. And then I probably also want to start doing open houses because I think you're going to be really good at them because you've had so much customer interaction with people that nothing's really going to throw you off at open houses, and you'll be approachable to everyone who comes in them. Is start doing open houses in first-time buyer neighborhoods.
Areas, yeah.
Right. And then that's where you get to do more customer research because then they're walking in and then you start talking to them, oh, yeah, and they're like, oh, we're looking for a first home. Or some people they're already working with an agent. It doesn't really matter. And you can even say to them, like, you know what? If I was going to just do a seminar for first time buyers, what would you like me to cover at that seminar? And now they'll start telling you
Um,
what they really want.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
this
then
like go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, and I was just going to say it's kind of getting that inner wisdom research from your target market, and then you just deliver right back to exactly what they wanted.
Mhm. No, I was going to say because when I was thinking of the narrowing your niche market, I was like, well, I don't want to necessarily limit myself, but if you focus on first-time buyers and you just have these little pockets of different
Hmm.
things that includes first-time buyers, then you're really not limiting yourself.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? Like what I just said?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone thinks when I talk about niche that that's the only market they're allowed to go in, and I never
Well,
say that.
that's
I
what I
say
was
like,
thinking. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's only
interesting.
20-25% of your time initially because you're still
Yeah.
going to be running around doing other stuff. So it's you only let your time dedicated to your niche grows with the size and the volume that gets produced out of the
Hmm.
niche. And if within 1 year, 80% of your business is coming from your niche, well, you should probably be committing 80% of your time there. Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, because then you'll know, right? You'll have the stats and know where, and yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then the last kind of thing or offer I would probably suggest that you give people is, there's a lot of people renting right now who, if you put them all together, they would go and buy a home. Like there might be a lot of single guys living or single women living or two couples that can't afford a home, but you could find like a duplex for them. And with the rent they're paying, it would be cheaper for them to own that home than to continue to pay rent.
Yeah.
So you can start creating almost like these clubs, investment clubs, where all you did was get first-time buyers or people who don't think they could own a home, and you get them together and they buy a duplex, triplex, fourplex, whatever, and then they all agree they're going to be there for 5 years together and either sell it or they just refinance the property and then buy their own home. So there's so many different niche markets even within just working with first-time buyers that it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be just, oh, I'm renting, I got to buy. Like it could be, no, I'm going to joint venture and buy a property together with a bunch of friends. Why don't we join in, create an investment club of only first-time buyers who only want to buy investment properties? And there's no limit on how big what I call your complementary niche markets can grow once you establish the first one. Because every niche market will have five or six complementary um, smaller niche markets that circle around it.
Yeah. It makes like yeah, like I totally get it.
Yeah. It's kind of fun, isn't it? Like, I mean, think about it. I'm like,
Like
that's the beautiful thing about niche markets. You just never know how big they're going to grow, right?
yeah. But just
Like,
to break it down like this, it's like, it's amazing just to see where you can kind of like dig in and but still keep that same focus.
yeah. And then it goes even deeper, right? Like, so if you have an investment property, which is a sub niche off of your first time buyer niche market, you could easily build a property management division, a rental division, a repair division, which are all complementary markets off of that, and then build a separate business just running income properties for people. Because a lot of people have money, but they don't have time. So, what if you already had three first time buyers willing to go and buy an investment property? Could you go market that back to the investment property owners in London and say, listen, I have three people who are thinking about buying your house. Let me know if you want to sell it. No muss, no fuss. It doesn't even have to go on the market. I'd just like to be able to show this property. And then you
Oh,
start playing,
absolutely.
yeah, then you start playing Triangle, the Triangle game, which is you, buyers, and sellers. And you don't even have to go near MLS. So much fun.
Yeah.
So did you get some ideas?
Are you kidding me? I was literally writing. I was trying to write so fast as you're talking. I'm like golden nuggets, golden nuggets.
Well, the great thing is you're going to have a recording of this call, so you can listen to it all over
Oh
again
yeah,
too,
you know
right?
what exactly? Oh, jeez.
All
You're
right.
so
Well,
good,
Didi,
Glenn.
well, thank you so much for joining me on the call today. It was such a pleasure to have you on here.
Yes, it was awesome. Thank you so much for the great advice. I'm gonna put them to use, and once I start my business, there's no excuse why I can't be an awesome agent.
There
No
you
excuse.
go. I think you will be. All right. Take
Okay.
care, Didi.
Thanks,
Okay.
Glenn. Okay.
Okay. Bye bye.